Well, hello again. It's Sunday, the 8th of December 2024. Just set the timer. Okay, so today I thought I'd give some hints and tips to anyone that's considering interviewing Gary Nolan. I saw him being interviewed yesterday, I think it was, and I thought it was a pretty poor interview. Sort of rubbish Nolan was coming out with, and he's never challenged on it, and he should be, really, because it's what he's saying is so monumental. Okay, so he was talking about the metamaterial. He's still peddling this bloody rubbish, you know, the layered magnesium bismuth material. And no one's asked him about the provenance of this material. So if you're going to interview Gary Nolan, say what is the provenance of this material, Dr. Nolan? Is this the material with a very dodgy provenance? Supposedly, now if this is the same stuff, and I strongly suspect it is, it came from Art Bell and Linda Moulton Howe, who apparently got it from an anonymous army sergeant, whose grandfather took it off a crashed Delta-shaped craft in New Mexico in 1947. Not the Roswell crash, apparently. So, an anonymous army sergeant's grandfather acquired this material. The anonymous army sergeant then gave it to Art Bell and Linda Moulton Howe, who then sold it to the TTSA, Tom DeLong, for $35,000 or $40,000, whatever it was, so that he could research it. Now, is this the same material? That would be the first question to ask. Is that the provenance of this material? Because it's a pretty poor provenance, isn't it? Now, the other question to ask Gary Nolan is, he tells us that he's done an analysis on this material, and it's a strange material, and he asks the question, why would anybody produce this material? Why would anybody engineer a layered magnesium bismuth material? And that is the wrong question. Ask Gary Nolan why he doesn't ask the question, what process would create this layered bismuth magnesium material? That's the real question, not what is it for. Because there is a lead purification process called the Betterton-Kroll lead purification process, where magnesium and bismuth is bubbled up through the molten lead, and it produces layers of bismuth and magnesium as waste, as scum, on top of the molten lead. This is scraped off. It's industrial waste. This layered bismuth magnesium material from the Betterton-Kroll lead purification process is not engineered for a purpose. It's industrial waste. It's discarded. So ask Gary Nolan why he doesn't ask that question. What process would produce this material? Ask Gary Nolan if he's ever heard of the Betterton-Kroll lead purification process. I'll leave a link to that below. Ask Gary Nolan if he's ever compared the material he has with any waste from the Betterton-Kroll lead purification process. Any of the layered magnesium bismuth waste from the Betterton-Kroll lead purification process. Ask Gary Nolan that. See what he says. And if he says no, ask him why not. What sort of researcher is he? He wants to get to the bottom of where this material came from. Why is he not looking at what process could create that material? Not why was it engineered. That's the wrong question. You know, with a provenance like that, you know, Art Bell, Linda Moulton Howe sold it to Tom DeLong of the TTSA. The TTSA no longer exists, does it? The TTSA was the outfit that said, send us your money and we'll build a Starship. How hard can it be? You know, we've got members of our team, Eric Davis and Hal Puthoff, tell us it's easy. They've been re-engineering alien spacecraft for years. No evidence of that, of course. And they certainly didn't produce a Starship, did they? What happened to all the money, all the millions of dollars that was sent to the TTSA to build a Starship? What happened to that? Anyway, back to Gary Nolan. So, if that's the material, it's got a very, very dodgy provenance, isn't it? Very dodgy provenance. To be perfectly honest, I think this has zero credibility. An anonymous sergeant who got it from his grandfather, Art Bell, Linda Moulton Howe, TTSA. It's not the sort of provenance that's going to yield bona fide ET material results, is it? It's just not. Now, apparently, Gary Nolan was unhappy with the arrow analysis of this material. They were talking about a layered bismuth magnesium material, so I'm guessing it's a sample of the same stuff. They published a fairly comprehensive report of what they did to it, what tests they did with it, and they said this material's never been in space. You can tell, you know, it has been subjected to cosmic rays, sort of radiation, particles and everything else you find in space, not present. They found that it wasn't a terahertz waveguide as has been claimed by others. Now, Gary Nolan is not happy with the arrow analysis. Now, I don't know whether he was talking about the arrow analysis, but he said one analysis that he'd seen, it looked like it was done by some senior graders at school. Now, and he said that the arrow analysis, part of that is classified. Why is that? Now, and then he goes on to say, they say that some of their methods are classified. And I think that's completely understandable. Why, you know, if they've got some methods that are classified and they're not going to tell the world how they're analysing these materials, I think that's perfectly plausible. They published enough information in their report to be able to see that they've done a comprehensive investigation into this material. Now, Gary Nolan, as far as I know, has not done that. So why not ask Gary Nolan to publish the tests he's done on that material and the results he's got on that material? Just like Arrow did, a comprehensive report on the investigations he's done on that material. I haven't seen anything like that. Now, if he's done that and someone's aware of it, maybe you could leave a link to it below and I'll have a look at it. So it's you know, he's trying to keep the intrigue going, you know, because he's a fanboy, Nolan. You know, he's got when I was watching the interview, he's got one of those Fox Mulder office posters up on the wall. You know, I want to believe. Why? You know, why would you want to believe? Either there's evidence to show it's going on, or there isn't. You know. Yeah. Okay. So he doesn't want to tell us what the provenance is. He doesn't want to publish a comprehensive report on how he investigated it, because he doesn't want the intrigue to be gone. He's a fanboy. He wants to keep it alive. You know. Probably wants to keep his Soul Foundation alive, you know, the Shit Out of Luck Foundation. Now, if you ask Gary Nolan if he's compared this metamaterial he's got to a sample of waste from the Betterton-Kroll lead purification process, and he says no, he hasn't, ask him why not. So, Dr. Nolan, you want to get to the bottom of this, don't you? Why don't you just compare it? Get a sample of waste, it can't be difficult. Get a sample of waste from the Betterton-Kroll lead purification process and compare it with what you've got, and then publish the results. comprehensive results of the tests you've done on each material and publish those results, so we can all see how similar or dissimilar it is. You know, he won't do that, of course. You know. He won't want to tell us it was terrestrial industrial waste any more than Linda Moulton Howe. I mean, Linda Moulton Howe had this material, you know. She said it was extraterrestrial. This is the same stuff we're talking about here. She was going to get it tested and she was going to publish the results and let us all know. When the results, she got it tested. When the results came back and they said it was terrestrial industrial waste, she wouldn't publish the results. That's Linda Moulton Howe. And she then sold that as ET material to the TTSA for $35,000 or $40,000 because she knew it was useless rubbish. You know? And they've given it to Gary Nolan by the sound of it. So, yeah, Nolan says Arrow did a poor job of analysing it. I don't think so. They published their results, they published their tests. So the other thing you got to bear in mind is too that Nolan still hasn't published the results of the tests he done on the Texas alien ball given to him by Ross Coulthart. How long ago was that? You can bet your life he's analysed it, but he won't tell us. It's a plain old terrestrial ball check valve made in the USA because he wants to perpetuate the intrigue. Anything that says no, this is ordinary terrestrial material, he will not tell you. He's like Linda Moulton Howe. He'll hide that because he wants to perpetuate the ET is here rubbish. So if you interview Dr. Gary Nolan, just ask him, you know, have you analysed the Texas alien ball yet from Ross Coulthart that Ross Coulthart found? Ask him if he's analysed that. Ask him what the results of that analysis are. Remember the Texas ball rolling around on its own in the old shack that was the floor moved with the seasons, you know. Ross Coulthart picked it up. Oh, it's unbelievably heavy, and he put it on the scales. It weighs exactly 50 pounds. Well, 50 pounds is not unbelievably heavy, is it? 50 tons will be unbelievably heavy. And it weighs exactly 50 pounds. So Ross Coulthart thinks that extraterrestrials fly around the galaxy engineering artefacts using terrestrial imperial weights and measures. So ask Gary Nolan about the alien ball that Ross Coulthart found in Texas. Has he analysed it? What were the results of that analysis? I want to believe. That poster tells us all we need to know, doesn't it, really? Nolan desperately wants all this visiting, crashing ET nonsense to be true, but why? You know, why? I think that'd be a good question to ask him, don't you? Why, Dr. Nolan, do you want this to be true? Why do you want to believe this? Personally, I don't. I think it would make me rather nervous. If it was shown, if it was proven, you know, with tangible evidence, verified by a number of credible universities that, you know, ET's coming here, this is ET material, that would make me nervous. I'd have to wonder what they want. You know, they're not going to want any technology we've got. They're not going to want to interact with us. That'd be pointless. It'd be like us trying to talk to hamsters, you know. What would be the point of it exactly? The only point would be they were sizing up the planet for themselves. Nolan actually repeated the story that ET's visited him in his bedroom when he was a kid. Now, he's mentioned this story a few times. It does seem to change. Because I've said in the past, you know, that apparently they were there for weeks on end. They were looking through the windows, they were standing around his bed. He never told his parents. Never woke his brother up, said, oh, look at this, you know. He'd put his teddy down. Hey, Mum, Dad, come over, look at this. You know, drooling on his teddy. Why? What would be in it for an alien species to fly across the galaxy and stand around a kid's bed for weeks on end, and to look through the window at him for weeks on end? Now he's changed the story. Now he said he went and told his parents, and they said, oh, it's just a dream, go back to bed. Don't you think he would have been a little bit insistent, saying, it's not a dream, come and have a look? He would have dragged his mum or his dad into his bedroom and said, look at these, it's full of aliens, the bedroom's full of aliens. And it wasn't just one night, this went on for weeks on end. How many times did he tell his parents? Why didn't they set a camera up to see, to see what was really going? Why didn't he wake his brother? It's all in his head, isn't it? Now, either he's either consciously lying, or he seriously believes this stuff. I don't, personally. I think it's drivel. Why, can you imagine Captain Kirk and Scotty flying around in the Enterprise? They find a planet, and they pick a random kid, pick a kid at random, and they spend 3 weeks, they put the Enterprise in orbit, and they spend 3 weeks just standing around the kid's bed. Scotty might be outside looking through the window. They don't say anything. Does that sound even remotely plausible to you? It certainly doesn't sound remotely plausible to me. I've said it before, put a line through Gary Nolan, in my opinion, personal opinion, he's just not credible. So, he could have had his parents on, he could have had his brother on, verifying his story. I mean, that's a pretty exceptional occurrence, isn't it? I'm sure if I was a kid and I had aliens around the bed, I'd say, come and have a look. You're telling me I'm dreaming, come and have a look. I would be rather insistent. I might even grab an alien and drag it into Mum and Dad's bedroom. They're only little after all, supposedly, aren't they? Although now he's saying that the visitors he got were like the ones in the book Communion. Now, did he read the book Communion? What a coincidence. Now, I'll have to see if I can get an early description from Nolan of his aliens, because the description Whitley Strieber gave was different. Certainly in the film, they're dumpy fat things, aren't they? They're not little skinny grey things. I don't know, I'll check that. So, if you're interviewing Gary Nolan, just ask him that, ask him how many times he told his parents these aliens were in his bedroom. First of all, ask him specifically how long it went on for, because he said it went on for weeks, okay? Every night for weeks. Was it every night for weeks? Consecutive nights? Was it spread over that 3 weeks? A number of visits. How many visits? How many times did Nolan tell his parents? How many times did you tell your parents, Gary? How many times did you try and wake your brother up? Actually, I shouldn't have said that. I should have said, how many times did you wake your brother up? Because now he's going to say, I tried to wake my brother up, but they must have paralysed him. I've given him a get out of jail free card. Wake up, mumbling. So, ask Nolan what the aliens wanted. They wouldn't come all this way, they're there for weeks on end for nothing. They're going to communicate with him. Did they communicate with him in English? Did they communicate with him at all? What did they communicate? These sort of questions should be asked of him. No one asks any of these questions. So if you're going to interview Nolan, ask him those questions. Why would aliens cross the galaxy to stand around a kid's bed, his bed? What precisely did they want? It'd be a very expensive exercise, wouldn't it? They just crossed the galaxy to stand in silence and stand around his bed looking at him, looking through the windows at him. Why? Now, and also, I've put a video up of this, of another interview he was in. He said when he was an adult, he was just about to start work as a professor at Stanford. He got a visit from an alien in his bedroom. that communicated with him telepathically. He doesn't presumably in English. I'll be asking him how does he think the alien would communicate in English for a start, and what precisely the alien had to say. Why would an alien cross the galaxy to communicate with this one guy? Something he had to say must have been absolutely vital. He wouldn't say, "Well, how you doing? How you going, Gary? Got any Maltesers? You know, we can't get them anywhere else in the galaxy. Or a Toblerone." It's drivel, isn't it? It's complete rubbish. So ask him, what form did this alien take? What language did the alien use? What exactly did the alien communicate to Gary Nolan? Ask Gary Nolan that. Now, I've said it before, personally I'll put a line through Gary Nolan. He's very obviously a blinkered fanboy, you know. Bismuth magnesium must be from a UFO. For an alien spacecraft, you know, it can't be from a lead purification process. A plain old terrestrial lead purification process. Blinkered fanboy. Oh, that noise is that a ruse again? Anyway, he said, now I didn't get the question. So it might have been that the interviewer said to him, "Why do you think you're getting this attention, Gary, from the aliens?" Oh dear. Because Nolan's response was, it could be some kind of intelligence test. They only visit the truly gifted. You got to be smart enough. They have to think you are smart enough to receive a visit. They have to think you are worth visiting. That was Nolan's response. Now, this is Nolan's version of the Emperor's New Clothes. Remember that fairy tale written by Hans Christian Andersen? Mind you, UFO ET coming here, crashing here stuff is written by Hans Christian Andersen, really, isn't it? Do you remember that, the Emperor's New Clothes, where the con men sell the Emperor nothing, and the Emperor walks, and they say only an idiot would see him naked. You know, only an idiot would see the Emperor naked. The naked looks at the loom, you know, there's no nice new suit on the loom, you know, and these guys that are conning him say, well, you know, only an idiot wouldn't see the loom empty. Oh, sorry, only an idiot would see the loom empty. So he goes, oh, of course, yeah, it's a beautiful suit, lovely. And this is Nolan's equivalent of the Emperor's New Clothes. You know. He thinks he's gifted and everyone else is as dumb as a box of hammers. I think he truly believes that. I don't know whether he owns a mirror, but he certainly doesn't see what we see, does he? Oh dear. So remember, if you're stupid, if you're as dumb as a box of hammers, I must be as dumb as a box of hammers. I've never met an alien. I've never had aliens in the bedroom. Must be gormless mumbling. Gormless. Oh dear. So you'll never be visited by ETs for nights on end. They're not going to come in your bedroom and stand around your bed. Mind you, there are probably some people out there that will consider that quite good fun. Might even throw out an invite or two. Oh dear. So anyway, yeah, a couple of minutes to go, a few minutes to go. So anyway, this is just a Gary Nolan special. Hints and tips when interviewing Gary Nolan. Some of the questions to ask him that he never gets asked. Yeah, I honestly don't know why anyone bothers with Gary Nolan or his Soul Foundation, the shit out of luck foundation. I really don't. Another question to ask him would be, did the Soul Foundation get kicked out of Stanford? They had their conference last year at Stanford University. This year, the Soul Foundation had a symposium at another venue. Now, apparently the difference between a conference and a symposium is the size of the audience. Symposium, I think, is smaller, isn't it, than conference? I don't know. It's invite only because it's just a bunch of self-aggrandising, back-slapping, science fiction piffle peddlers, basically. That's all it is. And they don't want anyone there that's going to pick any of the stories to pieces. Just look at the list of speakers. It's a complete and utter waste of time. With that, as usual, if you've struggled all the way through the video to this point, many thanks for watching, and maybe I'll catch you again.